everyone, it's Coach Christine and welcome to this week's edition of Christine's Kitchen. We're going to continue our healthy dessert trend for the month of November. Today on the menu, we will be making some homemade caramel apple blossoms. So what is that, you ask? Great question. Basically, we're taking the whole inspiration off of the Outback Steakhouse bloomin' onion. So the apple slices are just going to go and open up nice and pretty. Basically, all that you have to do is take your apple. We're making 2 servings today. I cored it out, left just a little bit of the base so that once we bake these, they'll just open up like a pretty flower. Honestly, you can have them open, or if you want to just slice that up and then add everything else for topping, you do you. But today, we're going to be doing these beautiful apple blossoms. All right, so you're going to preheat your oven to 375, and that way you can core your apples and get them baking. You're going to want to bake these for, I would say, about 30-35 minutes. So we'll just set those aside until we get ready to put those in the oven. Now here's where it gets fun. We are going to be making homemade caramel. To drizzle on top of this is just like the perfect finisher. We're going to be making this as vegan, so if you're looking to do a recipe that's a little healthier with no refined sugar, or you want vegan, or you need it paleo, this is your caramel recipe. All that you need is equal parts of coconut sugar, coconut milk, and then we'll be adding 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt and about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. It's as simple as that. This is how we do it. Today we're going to be making a smaller portion, but this will be plenty to drizzle over and have leftover, so if I want to add a little bit to your morning coffee treat, I will have those extras. So we're going to be taking 1/2 cup of full fat coconut milk and mixing that with 1/2 cup of coconut sugar. To that, we add that 1/4 teaspoon, and then we're going to take 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Honestly, it is about the easiest recipe on earth. 4 ingredients, takes absolutely no time at all. From here, we're going to whisk it together and we're going to place this on the stovetop over a medium heat. We're going to be bringing it to kind of a nice low boil. And once it boils, we're going to just continue to stir it with a whisk for about 10 minutes. So let's get this started. So this is what the caramel looks like as you're just getting it going. Right now we've got it to a roaring simmer, but once it starts to boil, it will start to thicken up. Now keep in mind with caramel, basically the longer you stir it, the thicker it will get, but it's still going to be liquidy and going to be a sauce. So we'll be adding this into a container and putting it in the refrigerator to cool, just to thicken it up before we actually pour it over the apples in a little bit. We'll check in on this in just a moment. Well, I don't know about you, but I am so stinking excited about this caramel right over here. I have done this fully loaded and vegan before. Both of the options are absolutely delicious. So if you're going to do this fully loaded, you're going to use the same proportions, but use regular heavy cream and brown sugar instead of the coconut sugar and coconut milk. Your vanilla and sea salt will be the same ratio, and the instructions are the same. You bring it to a boil. You're going to be stirring this occasionally. Now, let's say that you want to just add a little bam to it and kick it up a notch. You can make this Irish whiskey caramel. Holy shnikes, it is so good. Basically, once you have this done, you're going to take up to 1/4 cup of Irish whiskey and pour it in after you've removed this from the heat. It's going to do this cool little boil up and over, and then it simmers down really quickly. It absorbs all of the flavors, and you have this magical, delicious Irish whiskey caramel. Yum! Today though, I am coming on to the end of my 30 days of dry, so no alcohol for this girl. I wanted to kind of take a little healthy approach going into the holiday season, so I got rid of the alcohol. What? I know, crazy time to do it, but I did it and I feel great, so no alcohol in this one for me today. Let's check in on how this is doing. Come take a look. It's really coming to that boil. Looks amazing. See, take a peek here. And you can really see it's starting to thicken up on the edge and that beautiful, delicious caramel coloring. See you in a second. As you can see, we've got this to a roaring boil. We're just going to continue to stir this. And then in about 5 more minutes of this, we will convert it over to a bowl and put it in the fridge to cool. Okay, so this looks amazing. Now, it does look liquidy as it is supposed to. Watch how this just drizzles out. Perfection. From here, I'll just swirl this around so you can see how it's just going to coat the edges of my bowl. Once we put this into the refrigerator, it's going to thicken up quite a bit. Now keep in mind this is a caramel sauce. If you actually wanted to make it into candies, I would lay this out on parchment paper on a cookie sheet, put it in the fridge until it completely solidifies, and then cut it into little pieces. It will be equally delicious. So lots of great tricks, all with a little sauce. Okay, well, we will check on this when we are ready to put this over the apples for our finished product. Time to indulge in some dessert. So the topping options are endless. Honestly, you can do this with ice cream, a little bit of Cool Whip. For our caramel apple blossom, we are going to be using a half of a container of non-dairy vanilla yogurt. So this is going to be approximately 3 ounces. You're just going to put this right into the center here of our warm cinnamon apple. To that, you're going to add a 1/4 cup of granola. I'm choosing a vanilla almond granola for my creation here. And then comes the masterpiece. Now look at this, how nicely this just thickened up. Our sauce is going to be maize balls. We're going to take it and drizzle it over the top. And because everything else is so incredibly healthy, you could afford to be a little indulgent here. Just like so. I suppose I should save some for everyone else. But that's it. Here is the finished product. We have a gorgeous caramel apple blossom, healthy dessert, loaded with fiber, loaded with no added sugars, plenty of phytonutrients, and all of the good things that make you want to go, that was delicious in the belly. So stay tuned for more next week. We'll continue our November dessert tradition, leading in with some pre-Thanksgiving treats and possibly some pastries. So that is our time for today. Thanks so much for watching. From my kitchen to yours, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.